1. After going to the movies, me and F decided to go to the mall to get some cute new clothes before school started again. This was during spring break before the virus cancelled school. We ate lunch at the food court and F wanted to go to, well, let's call it Bats and Body Works to get some new lotion. I have a tendency to pass out. It's not anything serious, but sometimes strong smells cause me to become lightheaded, and I didn't want to take my chances at the mall. F understands this, and we agreed to meet back up at the food court in 30 minutes. I decided to go to America Hawk to look at clothes. I have OCD, and I always make sure to fold any clothing item I pick up back exactly the way I had it. A nice worker asks, "Can I help you with anything, ma'am?" "I'm good, but just looking." I walk around and look for about 5 minutes, and I'm folding a shirt back when I hear someone clear their throat behind me. I don't pay attention to this, as I figured it wasn't directed at me. Then...
"Excuse me?"
Still, I don't think she's talking to me, and I just kind of look at her before I walk away.
"Hey!"
Karen grabs me hard.
"How dare you walk away from me when I'm speaking to you?"
Huh?
"You really should be nicer to your customers. This kind of service is not acceptable."
I'm kind of angry at this point, as Karen has already grabbed me, but I keep my cool and say, "Sorry, lady, I don't work here." Then I point at nice worker and say, "She works here. I'm sure she'd be happy to help you." Karen does not like this answer and screams, "You do work here. I saw you folding shirts." "Oh, I just have OCD, so..."
"Stop being lazy. Now I saw you folding those shirts and you're going to help me."
Karen then proceeds to shove her phone in my face and say,
"My daughter wants this swimsuit and I can't find it here. I want you to get it now."
"Sorry, lady, like I said, I don't work here. And I should go meet up with my friends so she doesn't get worried." It had only been like 15 minutes, but I wanted to get away from Karen.
"You're not leaving until I get this swimsuit."
Finally, a nice worker seems to notice Karen yelling at me. "What seems to be the problem here, ma'am?"
"Your employee is refusing to help me find this."
She shoves the phone in NW's face. "I'm sorry, ma'am, she does not work here, but I would be happy to assist you."
"Yes, she does. I saw her folding shirts."
NW sighs and turns to me. "I'm sorry about this, ma'am. You can leave."
"You're not going anywhere."
Then she says the classic Karen line,
"I want to speak to your manager."
NW apologizes and asks me to just wait for a few more minutes, then runs off to get the manager. Karen then turns to me.
"You see what you did? If you had just done your job, none of this would have happened."
Karen then gets an evil look on her face and says,
"I'm going to tell the manager you assaulted me. Then you will get arrested."
Just a side note, I'm a 5'2", 16-year-old and don't appear to be threatening at all. "Look, lady, I didn't touch you, and they'll check the cameras and see you were grabbing me."
"Shut up, you little brat! Didn't your mother ever teach you to respect your elders?"
Finally, NW gets back with manager.
"You have terrible employees. OP refused to help me find this swimsuit for my little girl. When I approached her and asked for help, she assaulted me."
"I saw the whole thing. OP never touched her."
"Lies! I'm calling the police."
Yes, she actually called the cops. I've been gone for about 45 minutes now, and F begins to text me wondering where I am. I respond telling her I'm in America Hawk, and this crazy lady just called the cops on me for not helping her find a swimsuit. The Karen snatches my phone.
"What's this? Spreading lies about me to your little punk friends, I see.
She then puts my phone in her purse.
"Hey, give that back."
M tells her to give me back my phone.
"Oh, I see. You're fine with letting your employees behave this way for paying customers. LP is not getting this phone back."
A police officer walks in.
"Officer, thank goodness you're here. She," pointing at me, "threatened and assaulted me."
"OP, is this true?" "No. This lady thought I worked here because I was folding shirts. She assaulted me when I tried to leave, and she has my phone."
"Lies!"
Then states that my phone is evidence in a crime against her. The manager tells the officer that they can check the cameras to see what really happened. Karen immediately interjects and says,
"Why don't you just believe me? There's no need to check cameras."
"Let's see the footage."
"This store has terrible service. I'm leaving."
"Hey, you're not allowed to leave." Come back into the store and wait until we see the footage. If you're telling the truth, as you say, you have nothing to worry about.
But
why don't we take a look at that camera footage now? After looking at the footage, you can clearly see Karen grabbing me, screaming, and snatching my phone. O turns to me. OP, would you like to press charges for assault and minor theft? I say yes, and O goes to arrest Karen when she scratches him and screams,
I did nothing! I refuse to be arrested!
O tells Karen she is now being charged with battery on an officer and resisting arrest, as well as assault, minor theft, falsely giving a report, and disturbing the peace. Just think none of this would happen if Karen had just accepted the fact that I didn't work there. The police take a couple of statements from me, and also take pictures of my shoulders as I was pressing charges for assault, and give me back my phone. O tells me I'm free to go. At this point I've been gone for about 2 hours. F came to Merrickahawk and was waiting on the bench for me to be done. F drives me home. I tell her everything, and we kinda laugh about what just happened. 2. Are you open? Is a pretty common question that we all know and love/hate in the customer service world. It's a question that often answers itself because usually if there's someone to respond on the other side of the phone line, or the counter in this situation, at a place of business they are in fact open. I'm sure anyone here who answers phones as part of their job has experienced the silent hang-ups after running through their greeting because your answering the phone and speaking was enough of a confirmation for the caller. I'm sure some of you have even had people poking their head in the door to ask if you were open, perhaps worried that the door had been unlocked early by mistake. It's harmless and amusing, and you can kick off a great interaction by welcoming these kinds of people inside. You'd think that customers would enjoy that your store and business is open to serve them, right? Now, before I get to my story, I should point out that I work in BC, Canada, where we never had a lockdown, but a lot of shops had to close in March. Fortunately, I work in an essential business, cannabis retail, so apart from some minor changes, we were still able to operate as usual. Admittedly, there were a couple of weeks where we reduced hours in the morning, as 2 of our staff had to isolate as a precaution. One had traveled recently and another had an unrelated health issue. But we had posted any and all changes on our social media, Google business page, our online ordering menu, posted physical laminated signs on the front door and around the shop floor. Most folks were understanding, and just happy that we were still operating at all. We love weed up here in Canada. Fortunately, these reduced hours were temporary, and we've been back to our original posted hours. Again, corrected on all social media for about a week now. The only thing we forgot to change, and never really had to change, was our LED open sign with the hours underneath. Stupid mistake, but the law in Canada for cannabis shops states that all windows have to be frosted so no minors can see inside. It's not like anyone can read anything but the giant flashing part at the top that says open. Hell, I didn't even notice it had the hours below until I'd worked here a few weeks. We only keep it up because the top part is still legible through the window due to its brightness and size. The sign is also pretty high up compared to street level. You would have to crane your neck from just below it to read the small font of the hours. Sorry, I'm getting to my story now. I had just opened up the shop solo as usual. My door is unlocked, my LED open sign and an additional sign that just says, "Hi," are lit up and shining through the frosted windows. I also have a sandwich board out on the side of the road. I should also point out that our hours are painted on the outside of the front door and are visible from the road. A guy walks in looking frustrated. I'm about to say good morning in my retail voice before he cuts me off.
Are you open yet?
Yes. Not sure why he seemed upset. We had some reduced hours, but we're back to 9 to 9 through the week.
But your hours say you don't open till 10.
Oh, did I leave one of the paper signs outside?
No, I saw your open sign from my car.
I point at the flashing open sign. That sign? Did I forget to turn it on? Knowing damn well it's on.
No, it's on, but the hours say 10. It really looks like you're not open yet.
Well, sir, I assure you I'm here and happy to help you find some good bud.
Well, you're lucky I tried the doorknob. How'd you expect people to know you're actually open?
Please leave. I'm sorry for the confusion, sir. My 2 signs usually do the trick. Now, can I get you anything, or do you need some time with the menus?
Well, I haven't had a second look yet, obviously.
Get out laughed. "No problem, I'll just give you a minute." The rest of our interaction was all right. He bought a couple of things, made a few jabs about how quiet it was in the shop. It's a wheat store. Would you expect crowds in a liquor store first thing in the morning? And finally left to go back to whatever confusing world he lives in. Told my boss, the owner, about it later, and we had a laugh and changed the sign. No one has noticed, of course. Edit. Apparently I have made a bad assumption about liquor stores. My bad. 3. A little backstory. I am a painter. No, not a house painter, but someone who paints on canvases. I paint landscapes, and only landscapes, and I've been doing it for a few years now. I get my paints from a hobby store that has just about everything, and it's a well-known local store that changed hands in the last couple of years. On the day this story is about, I was in my usual cargo shorts, which I wear year-round even when there is snow outside, tennis shoes, and a nice pullover shirt. Think fancy t-shirt with a collar. Oh, and I'm like 60-ish. I hadn't had a haircut in months, and I also hadn't shaved in like a week, so I was rather scruffy looking. Think a clean homeless guy with clean clothes. That is a big thing with my wife, as she insists that I don't leave the house looking like I've lived in my clothes for a week. As you might guess, I'm a messy painter, and I tend to get paint on my clothes, so I change into something clean and without any rips or tears before leaving the house. I was looking at some brushes on an end cap, that part of the shelves at each end of the aisle, when this woman clears her throat. Now I get stuff in my throat and have a rattle sound when clearing, so my brain just filtered out the sound, and I moved a little to one side and closer to the end cap, in case I was in the way. Once again came that throaty sound like a frog choking on an oversized cricket while trying to sing. This time, I look at the source of that sound, and I find a woman, maybe 5'2", a little thick, with a short, fake blonde haircut. I think the ladies call it a bob. A cart with some plastic plant foam bricks in it, and raised eyebrows. Now, the uniform here is black pants and a store polo shirt of any number of colors. Oh, and each and every employee has a black apron on, except for management. It's a pretty good-sized store, and the only one of its kind for an hour or two in any direction, so the store monopolizes the region. Cheaper prices can be found in the big city, but that's almost 2 hours away, and by the time you've spent the gas to get there and back, you've not really saved a whole lot. Now that you know the backstory, the scene played out like this. Me's old gnome-looking guy, CL is Crazy Lady, the assistant manager is Judy, and the manager is Katie. "Is there something wrong with your throat?" I asked, a little concerned.
No, there's nothing wrong with my throat. What's wrong with you just standing there instead of helping paying customers?
Ah, I said, instantly recognizing the Karen in the wild from the many tales I've heard over the years. You think that I work here.
No, duh, I see you in here all the time. I know you work here.
I'm in here because I buy things.
Yeah, and the other day I saw that you got an employee discount. So I absolutely know you work here, so help me find my stuff.
Stuff? Oh, you need to go to the Stuff Mart. I nearly doubled over with laughter as her brow became a maze of lines, as her 2 working brain cells spun crazily in her cranium, trying to figure out Stuff Mart, and whether there actually might be a place called Stuff Mart or if I was pulling her leg. Then she waved her hand through the air as if clearing it of smoke and said,
"Never mind, you help me now."
I looked down at my cargo shorts and said, "Okay, for the sake of the argument, let's say I do work here. Obviously I'm not wearing the proper uniform, so this must be my day off. As such, that would mean I'm not working today. So tell me again, why I would help you if I'm not working today?"
"Because you work here!"
She actually stomped her foot. "But don't even the peons get days off when they don't have to work?"
"If you don't help me right this minute, I'm gonna get you fired!"
Then came the mantra of all Karens.
"Get me your manager."
I could hear the clippity-clop of dress shoes clattering across the tiled floor at warp speed, and new help was soon to arrive. I reached over and picked up a paintbrush and said, "This is a paintbrush, you know. These fine bristles are all natural and can help bring your painting to life." CL looked at me with wide eyes and a mouth open and prepared for the early arrival of many flying insects should they happen to be landing, and this brought on a 2-foot stomp.
What? What are you babbling about? I want you to find my things!
She shouted just as Judy and Katie rounded the corner of an aisle to see what all the shouting was about. Oh, but where do you suppose they could be? I feigned my innocence. What is going on here? Asked Judy. Before life on this earth could draw a single breath, CL let out a string of,
This stupid shit of a worker won't help me. He's been rude to me, attacked me with a paintbrush, and I want the manager, and I want him fired for being too stupid to be working. They should have laws about people being too stupid to have jobs. I want my things found, and I want them for free for dealing with such an incompetent imbecile. I know the owner, and he will fire you if you do not help me.
Julie looked back at me, and then covered her mouth with her hand and turned her face to keep from laughing. Katie, who was in her 40s and looks to be in her 20s, suppressed a chuckle and walked right up to me. She ran her finger down my cheek and said, You know, if you stay a little while, I might take you home with me. We could have a lot of fun, you and I.
What?
Cried CL, whose face went beet red, and she took a step back from her cart while Judy ran off, doing her best not to laugh. That sounds like an employee discount I want to explore, I said, seeing the knowing look in Katie's eyes.
Oh my hell, what is going on here?
CL screamed as though she was watching a murder being committed right in front of her.
Are you serious? I want someone to call the owner right now. Right this damn minute. This kind of behavior will not be tolerated in this store. I will have both of you fired right the damn now.
Katie and I are about the same height, and when Katie kissed my ear, CL just started hopping about like a mad rabbit, stomping both her feet into the floor. The gal on the register and Judy came rushing to us, Judy with the store phone, and said she was calling the owner. CL grabbed the phone out of Judy's hand and was running in circles, waiting for the call to go through. Then Katie's phone rang. Don't go anywhere, you, she purred to me. Katie answered the phone while looking at CL dead in the eyes. Yeah, I'm the manager and I'm the owner, and yeah, this is my husband, and you know what? I don't want your business. I don't want you in my store. I don't want to sell you anything, and I don't want your money. I do ban, and I will ban anyone and everyone who is rude to one of my employees, and you are banned. You will leave or I will call the police and have you arrested for accosting my husband. Oh, yeah, he gets an employee discount because I am the owner, and I can give that discount to anyone I choose. Oh, the CL was having none of it.
Oh, this is BS. You just called her Stell. I want the owner, and I want the owner here now.
Katie looked at Judy and asked, Have you called them yet?
Yeah,
Judy said. They're on their way. A minute went by with the CL stomping on the ground when two of our local officers came around the end aisle. Both officers knew Katie and Judy as they got stuff for their wives on the way home from their shift, so they rushed the CL just as she threw the phone at me, hitting me in the chest. Both of the police officers were of the family pack variety, and stood well over 6 foot. They manhandled the CL pretty easily and got handcuffs on her. One took her outside, and Katie told the other that she just wanted her trespassed, and knowing my wife like everyone in town does, they didn't even ask me if I wanted to press charges. Katie was the boss, and what she says goes. I took Katie about the waist and said, You can be quite the vixen when you want to be, can't you? Katie looked at me with soft eyes and said, Nobody messes with my husband except me, and in my own store to boot. Note, Katie and I have been married since she was 20-something, and I was 40-something. It wasn't a love at first sight thing, it was a gradual meeting of the minds and meeting of the hearts. We were neighbors, and just saw each other often, and then we started having drinks at each other's house until we finally kissed. It was that first kiss that got the snowball rolling down the hill, and a year later we were married. Her family was not really happy with her marrying an older man, and they let us know it at every opportunity, so we moved to a different town in a faraway state. My family thought I'd lost my mind, and it was a relief to be so far away from them too. I'd never married up to that point, and while it's hard to explain, after that first kiss, we just knew right then that one day we'd be married and began to plan for it. I saved up quite a bit of money from my paintings, and we both worked, me at a forge and her in retail. I sold my house, and that left us with a nice little nest egg, so that when the store went on the market, Katie jumped at it, and she's been running that store for over a decade now. Her income was enough that I could quit the forge and paint full-time, and be a house husband for our 2 kids, who are both now out of high school. Our marriage is now stronger than it has ever been, and our oldest is planning her own wedding. 4. A little background on me and where I worked. First, I was in my early 20s, and as I had been all my life, a bit overweight. I'd always been self-conscious of my weight, so I had a difficult time eating in front of people because I was afraid they would judge me. I worked at a retail store that wasn't huge but did have many stores in Ohio and Pennsylvania. At the time of this incident, we had gotten a new head manager who was young and good-looking. Since most of our past managers were old men, Mr. A caused quite a stir. I was newly and happily married, so I was not interested in Mr. A, but I did agree he was handsome. Now, because of my weight, I was also rather shy. Plus, being raised a strict Catholic, I was also intimidated by authority figures. Needless to say, I didn't have much interaction with Mr. A. One day I was in the back room doing inventory. It was 11 a.m. I was starved and my lunch break was not scheduled until 1:30. I had to eat something, so I broke my rule of not eating at work and went to the registers to buy a chocolate caramel and peanut candy bar to tide me over. After my purchase, I returned to the back room and my inventory. I happily munched on the candy bar while continuing to count merchandise. I don't remember exactly what the problem was, but I needed to ask Mr. A how to handle the count. I found him in the back aisle of the store and approached him. While asking him my questions, I noticed that he kept looking at me oddly, but I didn't think too much about it at the time. I got my answers and returned to the back room. Upon entering the back room, I happened to pass by a mirror and saw what had fascinated Mr. A. I had a long string of caramel hanging from my chin. It must have looked like a chicken or turkey wattle, just swaying back and forth. I can't even imagine what he thought it was, but I admit, for as mortified as I was at the time, it makes me laugh every time I think of it. 5. This just happened today, and it was the weirdest crap ever. I work in a salon where we only do cuts. We had been closed for the past 10 to 15 minutes, as I was doing the count on the till. The sign was off to show we were closed, and my co-worker Jess was sitting nearby as I did the till. Then we see this Jeep pull up and park right in front. We're thinking it might be a co-worker, but it wasn't. It was kind of creepy since it's pitch black and the salon door wasn't locked. We normally don't lock it since most times customers don't go in if we show we're closed. This lady pops out and says through the door,
Are you closed?
I said yes, while shaking my head. She walks in saying,
Oh well, I just need to buy a brush, I know you're closed.
My coworker says, We don't sell brushes and we can't have you in the salon. It's mainly because we have money out and for safety.
Okay, ma'am, I'm going. I was just asking a question.
Okay, I'm just saying we don't sell brushes and can't have you in the salon. The lady gets pissed like it's the end of the world.
Geez, you are so rude. If you were closed, you should have locked the door. By the way, I recorded this and I'm posting it on Facebook.
She was still yelling this as she had the entrance door open. She left and locked the door right after. We think she was lying and on drugs because she could have went anywhere for a brush since most stores are open late. I don't think she recorded anything because she would have had to look down and press the record button. That was the craziest experience I've had while closing. Hey everybody, Hellfreezer here, and thank you very much for listening to Adventures in Fast Food and Retail, number 93. And thank you very much to everybody who allowed me to use and sent in stories for use in this video. If you have a story yourself you'd like me to read, providing it is your own story, then please do send it along to kingofthecities@gmail.com. And I accept submissions for all sorts of stories, even if it's something I don't necessarily do, doesn't mean I won't find a place for it. I can usually find a home for most of them. And sad to see in the last story there, yet another example of people these days wielding their cell phones like they're weapons. I don't know about you guys, but I mostly just use mine for listening to audiobooks on, and occasionally making phone calls. Mostly audiobooks. Okay, and with that, I'm going to head off for now. So until next time, thank you very much for listening, and take very good care of yourselves.